We're just going to chat a little bit about each sibling and some words that we think describes them well.
For Zach, I just think him as very smart. I can't count the times I've called him just to answer a question. Erin is spunky. She is so much fun. She is incredibly creative. For Lawson, I wrote down charitable and generous and a dreamer. Nathan is a daredevil. Nathan is ambitious. He has no fear. Alyssa stands out to me. One thing that I really think about her is organized. Tori is fun-loving. She is full of laughter and intentional. Trace stands out to me now as athletic. He loves family and valued family time. Keilen is probably the most animated sibling. She is the life of the party. Next in the lineup is Josie. She really stands out to me as someone who is just very, very generous. For Katie, she's just fun-loving and she is so supportive. I feel like she's supportive no matter what venture we're doing or what's going on. And she has a spunky side too that comes out. She's just so much fun. Very, very studious. And to teach herself all of these things at a young age, if she had an interest, she would learn. And she would quiz herself. So she probably knows more facts about unique things than probably anybody I've ever known.
She was just
brilliant.
Just so sharp, so smart. And you had to watch it though, because couldn't she like memorize your credit card just by looking at it once?
She can memorize everything.
It was just, she could see it and it was there. And it's just like, that is amazing.
She's a cool kid. Next is Jackson, and Jackson came after 3 girls in a row, and he's a creative soul. He is, from my early memories of him as a child, he loved to build things, he loved to put things together, he loved to do leather work.
Seems like ingenuity and creativity kind of blended together. Like he would make a chair out of sticks, you know, from the woods, and, you know, tanning his own deer leather, and just, it was always building model airplanes. It seemed like he did a lot of that.
Very good.
It was always inventive. It seemed like he was always developing the inventive side.
He's always creating something. He wanted to work on his own truck so he could learn the mechanics of it, and he's been that way since tiny childhood, but he doesn't have an uptight personality about it. He's just very chill and very easygoing, very smart, and very learn anything. I don't think anything challenges him, that he's totally fine to teach himself whatever it is. Next comes Warden, and Warden is very driven. He is in the middle of easygoing Jackson and easygoing Isaiah. He's very dedicated and he is very diligent. He's a super, super hard worker. And whether it's sports or work, or it doesn't matter, he pours 100% to whatever his task is. He's very dedicated and he won't stop until it's finished. He recently won a championship for football, and I think he played 14 games in one day of flag football. And his stamina is just incredible.
So it was cute watching her family, because when I met them, they were, you know, the little ones were very, very little. I mean, Jeb wasn't born yet even. Yeah. And watching them sing at events as a family, it was always cute watching the little guys, and Warden especially, because you could tell Warden was just putting his all into it, and he always had his eyebrows down, and he was just singing for all he was worth, and it was just really cute seeing the focus. And speaking of singing, this is one of the earlier visits too, but there was a neighbor that lived down the street from you guys in that little house. She was older.
Yes.
And
Miss Martin. We would go and sing for her frequently.
Yes.
Yes.
And I don't remember exactly what was surrounding the event, but Warden and Ellie sang for her.
Aww.
And they sang Silent Night, I think, the Christmas song. It was summertime, I think, but they sang Silent Night for her. I think she wanted to hear that song. And they sounded so good. It was so precious.
So sweet.
It was so precious.
Miss Martin was a widow and she was homebound, so we would go and visit her a lot. She most often would ask somebody, a favorite song would be on her mind. I don't think I know that memory though. That's sweet.
It was cute.
That's sweet. But he just pours his heart into everything and he is so diligent. I think he has done work on every single sibling's house. Mm-hmm. He's become very skilled in construction and remodeling, and I'm pretty sure he's helped out every single sibling in one way or another, and just a hard worker. Next up, we have Isaiah. And Isaiah, I feel like, has recently become very studious. He's fallen in love with learning and books and college and anything about the Lord. His major's in ministry, and he's so easygoing and he's up for helping everybody. He is so chill. He will take his time and converse with you and enjoy.
And just where he's at now, whenever he comes over, he wants to share about the most recent thing he's learning, and it's alive to him and it's exciting. And just hearing about what he's learning is great. Constantly helping people, though.
Always. Yeah. But I feel like recently it's just been fun to watch him love learning and love college, and every time he comes over he has a book with him or a stack of books, and he'll show Brandon his new books that he's recently got from the library or antique books, and he's just so fun. He comes over sometimes and he'll just hang out with us and stay for dinner, and I feel like I'm still watching him grow up because he's one of the littles and now he's in college. So
yeah, it is weird to think
watching him turn into a man
up. yeah, which is the case for most of our siblings now. It's just, wow, time flies.
I know. These next 5 I feel like are the hardest because they're in the phase where they're like right now on the threshold of being out on their own, and it's still like, oh, stay little, please. But then it's also that time for them to grow up, and when I was 17, 18, just starting to get a job and do things, and it's just like, oh, please don't do that yet. After Isaiah comes Addie, and Addie's just a sweetheart. She's very nurturing and she's just very compassionate.
She's a lot like her.
Oh, that's sweet. That's like a huge compliment.
Well, I think everybody knows.
She feels deeply for people, and she cares for people, and she wants to meet a need in any way she can. She's a really good listening ear, and I think there's a lot of people who would say she's their very best friend in the world because she's such a good listener and because she does care.
There's this one memory I have with Addie that just about made me cry. She loves people and she loves her siblings, and I remember it was Alyssa's wedding, and it was setting in with Addie, who is still very small, that Alyssa was leaving and she wasn't coming back.
Moving to Florida.
And she, we were in the church. It was after the ceremony. They were getting pictures, and Addie was waiting, there to get her picture there, and she made some kind of comment about, Alyssa's leaving and she's not coming back home. And I looked down and Addie looked up and she had these alligator tears in her eyes. And it was just like, oh no, you're going to make me cry. She was just so sad her big sister was leaving. But she's got to spend a lot of time with her since then and watch the girls and stuff. But anyway, just very tender heart.
Yes,
very cute.
Very, very tender heart. For Ellie, I have written down adventurous and dedicated. She really is up for any adventure. She loves to hike. She loves to kayak. She loves to be in the water. She really, I don't think, has any fears or has ever had any fears. So people are like, well, this is a long hike or this is strenuous. She's like, okay, when do we start? And she pushes through with everything. She's just determined, and she pushes through, and she has stamina, and she's up for any adventure, anytime. And she took me driving yesterday, and it was just like, it was so nice not to have to drive, and she picked me up and dropped me off, and it's just like, thank you. So
I remember my parents, the first time they went to your parents' house.
Oh.
And my mom wanted to help, see if she could help with something. And so apparently your mom said, well, you could help the little girls with their school today if you want to. And so she had Addie and Ellie, and my mom's heart just melted. She thought both of them were just so adorable and loved helping them with their schoolwork. But
she's another one it's hard to see, but she's all grown up, and it's just cool to see how she's blossomed into a young lady and see what God's going to do with her life. Next is Callie, and she's almost there too. I think in her mind she's already there because she is so
13 going on 30.
Smart, and she is much more mature than her age, but her years have not quite caught up with that yet, but she's definitely getting close. For Callie, I have written down engaging and sentimental. She will talk with anyone, and she will carry on a conversation and be very engaged in what's happening and what's going on, and just communicate like a grown-up. And she's been this way since she was like, what, 4? Like she knows no strangers, and she's always been completely comfortable around adults. But at the same time, she's very sentimental. She sends texts at night that say, I love you and good night. And
my earliest memories with Callie was always that she was by Michael's side and didn't like to leave Michael. I mean, she was
we
close
were best buddies
to you. And I mean, she had to call us on her honeymoon because she was so sad Michael was gone. But there's a super cute time when we lived in Chicago. Callie came up all by herself stay for a while. And she loved that. She was with Michael, and she was... and so I got this video clip of a conversation she was having with your mom, I think. It was so cute because she's sitting there talking to her mom, and she's like, Mom, can you please not pick me up till next year? You can come visit me every month. She just had it all planned out. She loved her time with Michael.
In the moment, I think she lasted about 4 days, and she was like, Mom, I miss
She was ready to go back home. So she was happy when the time was up. But she always loved you.
She loves very deeply, so... Now we're to the little boys, the very last 2. Judson is next, and Judson is another one that's very easygoing. He's just kind of chill, go with the flow, but he's very intelligent. He is a learner. He is a thinker. You can see him sitting sometimes, and it's processing, and he'll have questions that are deep, and he's very, very intelligent little guy. What else did I write for him? He's very considerate. He is a super thoughtful guy. He wants to grab the door for his sisters, and he'll carry their luggage, and he helps Mom out, and he's just a real sweetheart. But a lot of times you can watch him just thinking, and he's processing, and he's fun to go on road trips with because he'll have questions, and they actually make you think, like, okay, how do I need to answer that? And sometimes, like, I'm sorry, Deb, but I do not have the answer to that, but I'll try to find one. Like, I will research and let you know. But he thinks all the time. So he and Zach are very similar. Him and Jackson and Zach, all thinkers, just processing and deep questions.
Judson's my little birthday buddy. So we both had a September 15th birthday. And I feel like there's tons of stories I could share about Judson.
You've known him his whole life.
Right. Pretty much. Definitely for Jag, and most of for Judson. But he was always just such a cute little guy. And I remember your dad saying that whenever he would, going back several years, I never liked being at their house on Sunday morning. Because her dad would go throughout the house yelling, time to get up, time to get ready for church. It's just like, I know how much time I need to get ready. I don't need someone shouting.
Every Sunday morning, Dad was the pastor, and we all had to be ready to be in the van to go. So he had to shout for us.
I never liked Sunday mornings. It was like, oh no. I need quieter time, slowly waking up. But yeah, anyway. But in the midst of that, I remember your dad saying whenever he would go to Judson to wake him up, Judson would always look at him and he'd just give a big smile. Like he was just so happy to be awake. It's just like, wow, that's pretty amazing. The
last and final one is Jeb, and I I think Jeb has a soft spot in everybody's heart, and none of us really want him to grow up, even though he's growing up so fast.
Yes.
He's a really sweet-hearted boy. He loves Legos. That is his favorite right now. And I'm loving that he's still loving little boy things. So when he comes over, I'm like, do you want to play Legos? Like, I'm just so happy he wants to play toys a little bit, because I know there's coming a time when he's not going to want to do that anymore. But he's just a very fun, loving child. He, I think he loves all of his siblings, and he's just a sweetheart. And watching him grow up is happy and sad at the same time, because you just want to keep him little. But that is him, fun, loving, and cautious. He's a cautious little guy.
Yes.
He thinks things through before he does them, and he'll ask questions to be sure that he wants to do it before he jumps all in. So he's a thinker about new activities or new adventures, and he'll decide whether he wants to participate or not.
It's always fun taking him up to my parents' farm, where he has opportunity to milk the cow or just,
the boys
help
love
in the
going
garden.
to Michigan.
And, it's just, and he's very, he kind of has stolen my parents' heart, going up there.
He loves your parents.
My mom makes homemade jam, and that is his favorite. He loves her jam, and so anytime they're up there, they'd like to bring a jar of that back. But
they're fun. We've had a couple of road trips with the younger 3 or 4, so they've just added a sweetness to our life, getting to take them places with us for a weekend or something fun. So that is my family. It took a little minute. So for those of you who are still watching, thank you. And there's so much more we could say, but that's kind of the things that stand out, and I feel like it changes some over time and there's different things as we grow, but it's so fun.
Yes, and before you go away, I'll quick give the answers for those who are doing the trivia here we started with. The first family member to have a cast was Lawson.
He broke his pinky on the trampoline.
Number 2, the first lefty, is Nathan. This one's a great mystery. Who most hates cold weather? That's Alyssa. That's why she lives in Florida.
She said she would never come home.
And then the first to graduate college was Aaron. And then the first to have a family pet. And what was it? This was actually Michael.
I got a pet lamb.
It was a lamb.
Named Abraham on my 5th birthday.
Aww. The first ambulance ride was Addie.
She was a little miracle baby. She came early and before we were snowed in and before Mom and Dad could get to the hospital. She was born quickly and she went by ambulance to the hospital right after birth.
Aww. Number 7, who does not like to fly? Who has the strongest aversion to flying? And this is Jeb. Jeb does not care for air travel.
He does not enjoy air travel, but you will see him on a plane multiple times because he loves his cousins and he will overcome that aversion to play with his cousins.
It's not his favorite way to get there, but he'll do it to get there.
It's like, Dad, don't you want to drive?
Number 8, who was the shortest labor? And this was Keilen.
Keilen came so quickly, and I remember her birth because I was 8 and I was old enough to know she was coming, but she came in under an hour from start of labor to delivery.
Oh man. So that was Keilen. Number 9, whose nickname was Chipmunk as a child? And this was Trace. You need to tell the story.
This was Trace. I think he shared it on his YouTube, but when he was a little tiny, he just had this little white spot, little streak right in the middle of his hair, and you'd comb it over, and it wasn't quite white. It was just a blondish in his brown, and so we would call him Chipmunk, and he was just such a cutie. These little freckles and that little stripe.
But it went away.
He grew out of it, but it stayed till he was probably 6 or 7.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, number 10. Who was the longest labor? And this was Jackson.
Jackson was the longest. I remember Mom was in labor and we went to bed and there was still no baby, and it was so hard to fall asleep wondering, like, when is this baby gonna come? We woke up and we had a brother. So.
There you go. 11. Who was the only sibling to be airlifted? And this was Isaiah.
Isaiah had an accident and he was airlifted from the hospital where he was transported to the closest children's hospital, which was several hours away. So he was another little miracle story. Yeah.
Okay. Number 12. Who was the first person to yodel? And this was Zach.
He learned from Roy Rogers.
Did he really?
I think so.
Oh, that's great.
He picked up really quick. He could already sing really well and he had a guitar, but...
So I've heard him yodel, I've heard Lawson yodel, and I've heard Carlin yodel.
That's the 3.
Okay.
The rest of us made some squeaks, but those 3 got it.
Okay, those 3 got it. Oh, man. Number 13, whose favorite food was salad as a child? And this was Katie.
Katie was adorable. Every single time she was asked to pray, she would pray, Lord, please let us have salad for our next food. At like 2 and 3 years old, every meal she prayed for salad.
That is cute. 14, who could name their bones, most of the bones, before the age of 4? And this was Callie, and she was actually 2 years old when she did this.
Katie worked with her, and like we said, Katie was the brain who had all of the facts. And instead of saying like, where's your fingers, where's your ears, Katie would ask her by the bone name, and she knew all of them.
Where's your femur? Where's your metacarpals?
Yep.
15, what kid always woke up happy? This was Judson. Always when your dad
He still wakes up happy.
Yeah?
Yep.
Chill little fella. 16, which sister is the best at archery? And this one is Ellie.
She's a queen. Sometimes you wouldn't guess it because you just see her church photos, but she can hit dead center every time.
17, who had their appendix removed? And this was Tori.
The only appendectomy in the family. Maybe it'll stay that way.
18, who climbed out of the window as a child during nap time? And this was Warden.
Warden would sneak out the boys' bedroom window, and on 2 or 3 different occasions, I can remember the neighbor calling us. She was a sweet elderly lady, and she would say, I just didn't know if you knew that Warden's up here, and I'm giving him some ice cream.
That's great.
He was a little sneaker, but yeah, she had lemonade and ice cream, and it was not even 75 feet from the house, but he'd sneak up there for a treat. And we'd think he was sound asleep. We'd be doing our school and she'd call.
Oh my goodness. Last one, 19. Who was the only child with curly hair? And this was Josie.
Little Hazel looks identical to her, so if you ever see her Instagram page, she's a little mini me.
So that is the trivia. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you want to mention how many you got right in the comments below, we would love to hear. And if you didn't get very many right, that's okay. These were some random fun facts. They were kind of hard. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time.